Good morning. I'm Dean Logan. I'm the Registrar Recorder County Clerk for Los Angeles County, and I'm here with our partner, Matt Adams, sometimes known as Sam Adams, but we're going to go with Matt today.
That's right.
And I'm very excited to be back this year to share with you, and it's so inspiring to hear all of the projects that are highlighted in the showcase today. We're very proud to be here to share with you a project that's coming from within the public sector. In LA County, we set out a few years ago to look at a new way of approaching the way we deliver voting as a key part of the public sector. We wanted to envision the future opportunity for voting. So let me start with just a little bit of context about Los Angeles County, because there's some things that are unique about Los Angeles County. It's a ginormous jurisdiction, covers over 4,105 square miles. We have a population of over 10 million. As of last week, we have over 5 million registered voters, but an eligible voter population of 6.1, so we still have room for growth there. To put that into perspective, that means that in LA County, we have more registered voters than statewide in 42 of the 50 states. So it creates some interesting dynamics for delivering a voting system. We're also an extremely diverse jurisdiction, diverse economically, ethnically, age, geography, a couple of things. We have to provide our voting services in 9 different languages in addition to English. That puts some constraints on the options that you have for voting systems in today's market. Age demographics. Interesting to know that based on the last census data, the 2 fastest growing populations in LA County are people between the ages of 18 and 29 and those over the age of 65. So designing public services for those 2 extremes is particularly interesting. Layer on that the fact that all of that said, we're operating on a voting system that primarily was rolled out from the voter perspective in 1968. If you go in to vote at a polling place in LA County today, it looks very much like the voting system that was used in 1968. That is because the size and complexity of our jurisdiction and the limited market available for commercial voting systems and a stagnant regulatory environment have not kept up with the times. So all of these apps, gizmos, and concepts that we're hearing about today that get people engaged result in them walking into a voting experience that doesn't match with the dynamics that you've heard about today. We wanted to change that, and we realized that the market wasn't providing the opportunity for that if that was going to happen, we were going to have to leverage the fact that we're the largest elections jurisdiction in the country, and we're going to have to go and design that ourselves, and that's what we've done. So our goals in doing that were to look at this not just as a technology or equipment issue, but to look at it more globally as the voting experience. We wanted to look at it through the lens of the voter as the user of the system, rather than what we need as election administrators or what the people who are running for office need from the system. We wanted to first look at it through the eyes of the voter. We also fundamentally wanted to shift this concept in the public sector to say that voting, of all the public services we provide, the voting system ought to be a publicly owned, publicly operated public service. It should not be a proprietary system. It should be developed on an open source platform, and it should be available for review by the public, and we've pushed for that. And we also wanted to be sure that we know that we have the resources and the capacity in LA County to operate that type of a system on our own, but we know most jurisdictions around the country running elections don't have that capacity and those resources. So we wanted to design this in a way that was also transparent and shareable so that other jurisdictions can take advantage and leverage the work that we did in this design process. And that's how we ended up partnering with IDEO. We came together and said, let's do this from a grassroots approach, and we embarked on a discovery and design process where we talked to and observed over 3,500 voters, poll workers, people in neighborhoods, observed the way they function on their day-to-day lives, and talked to them about the meaning of voting and what inspired them to vote, what gave them confidence when they cast a ballot, what detracted from those things. And from that, we developed design specs for this new voting experience that were based on seeing things through the lens of those voters. So we looked at accessibility of voting systems not through the letter of the regulation in the law books, but through the lens of the disabled voter who has to go in and navigate the voting process, and oftentimes, in most cases, has to have the assistance of someone else do that. We looked at that through the lens of a a new American who just became a citizen who could talk to us about what it was like to go into a polling place and whether that was welcoming and whether it's represented the significance of that experience to them. We talked to high school and college students who are our emerging voters about what they expect of the system in the future and how that interacts with the other ways in which they interact on a day-to-day basis. And this gives you just a quick glimpse of the vision that's entailed in our design.
To meet the evolving needs of our nearly 5 million voters, Los Angeles County is challenging traditional ideas about voting systems. The days of inking your ballot are rapidly coming to an end. In the next few years, innovations and new technology will revolutionize the way you vote. Let's take a look at some of the changes you'll see. You know how voting includes paper sample ballots for your review? Get ready for a sample ballot that is interactive and accessible, providing a flexible and trustworthy voting method. This interactive ballot will let you mark it, generate a QR code for scanning and uploading, and review your selections at a vote center on a modern, sleek touchscreen with customizable viewing options for your preferred language, text size, and contrast. Voting will be simple, efficient, and cost-effective. Using input from the voting public and engaging expert designers, Los Angeles County's voting system has been reimagined to use a high-tech ballot marking device that still produces a paper ballot for accountability and accuracy. The best part? Voters will be able to vote anywhere in the county as early as 10 days prior to the election. Are you excited yet? By pioneering a voter-centered approach to design, Los Angeles County's new voting system will maximize technology to make it easier to cast your vote and enrich your voting experience for today and tomorrow.
Pretty cool, huh? So again, my name is Matt. I'm from IDEO, and we help companies innovate and try to make things better through a human-centered approach. And especially, a lot of this has to do with making technology more understandable to people. So one of the interesting things that we learn when we were talking to people is that voting is really amazing, and sometimes it's really difficult. So one of the things that we wanted to make possible in the new voting system was that people could vote where and when they needed to. So one of the concepts that we needed to do was a vote center. A vote center means that it's a place that any voter in the county can go to and vote on their own specific ballot that has their local contests on it. It allows the county to also extend the number of days that a voter can vote as well. So if it's more convenient for you to vote near where you work, you can vote near where you work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences that we design. A lot of voters really appreciate the community aspect of voting in a polling place. At the same time, the experience of voting in a polling place can be very difficult for a lot of voters, and for some voters it can be even more difficult. So one of the things that we're doing is when you go into vote at a vote center, you're creating a ballot. And in this new voting system, the paper ballot is still the best way to make sure that what the voter intends to vote on, they can check it, and that same vote gets counted, and that same vote can be audited. So we wanted to create a way to make a ballot that people can check themselves, but make it easier to do as well. So what you see here is a ballot marking device. And when you come into a new vote center, the ballot marking device has a touch screen. You can, as you saw in the video, each voter can vote in their own language. If they have difficulty seeing, they can change the size of the text. And they can make their selections, and then they can print out this ballot. They can also, if they vote in a different language, the ballot's printed in that language so that they can check it. The other thing that's really important is that in a lot of voting systems, if you have a disability, if you speak another language, there's a separate experience. You don't go to the main voting booth, you go to an accessible voting booth. And if you are one of those people, you don't want to feel like a second-class citizen. So one of the things that we really wanted to do with this ballot marking device is to create one device that works for all users. And this is a case of technology being humanized, right? So in addition to being able to use the touchscreen, there's audio that helps you in case you don't see well, or perhaps you have low literacy. There's a version of this that works completely through audio and a control pad in case you can't see at all. There's also the ability to connect your own accessibility devices. So that's the ballot marking device. One of the other things you saw in the video is that most of us, when we vote, if we're doing our research beforehand, we're marking our selections on our sample ballots that are sent to us. Isn't that right? And when you get to the polling place, what you do is you're transcribing your selections from your book and onto the ballot. And so the interactive sample ballot is a better way to take that same behavior that people already have and apply technology to make it even better. So you make your selections on your own device, whether it be a mobile phone, whether it be your home computer. And similar to like you do when you're flying, it creates a poll pass, which is similar to a boarding pass, that has those selections encoded. And when you go to the poll place and you start to vote on your ballot marking device, you can scan those selections and they're instantly transferred. A lot of voters also prefer to vote by mail. So we also looked at the vote by mail ballot and taking all of the best practices for making that process of voting easy to do. We made a vote by mail ballot that is easy to understand and importantly is easy to check to make sure you've done it correctly and less likely to make a mistake. So that's the vote by mail.
And we're out of time, so I'm just going to wrap up and say where we're headed to next is we're now taking these publicly owned design specifications and putting them out to market in a bid process, so we have an expanded market that can assist us in the process. We hope to launch this for early voting in the 2018 election and have it on full board for the 2020 election. Thank you.